this is question 25, and this is on your take-home final. I'm not going to work it out completely, but I will get it about halfway done for you. And so the first thing we always do with these circles is we need to move the number that doesn't have an x or y to the right-hand side. Only on the left-hand side is the x and the y part. Now, we need to complete the square on the x part and on the y part. I'm going to complete the square on the x part, and I'm going to leave the y part for you to do and rewrite it. So let's look at the x part. And so on the x part, we have x squared plus 16x. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding something in to force this to factor. And remember, what do? We have to half and square. That's the way I remember it. It's easy to remember. Half and square. So you take your middle term, which is 16, and what's half of 16? Okay, half of 16 would be 8. So that comes down as an x plus 8. Then we take our 8 and we square it. And what's 8 squared? 64. So that means we have to add in 64 to make it factor. And we keep track of that in a box because we're going to have to use that here in a moment. Now we still have to do the y part. So you're going to have to finish out the y part. But what would you do to finish out the y part? Well, you've got y squared, right, minus 4y. So you half it and square it. Then you put everything back together. Now, how do you know if something's not a circle? What makes something not a circle? If it equals to 0 at the end, when you put all of this together, when you rewrite it, if it was equaling 0 at the very end, that would make it what? That would make it a point. Okay? And the point would be the center of that circle. So you switch your ordered pairs around, and that would then be your point. Because a radius of 0 is just a point. Now, what happens if when you put it all back together, if it stays negative? If it stays at that, like let's say a negative 20. It's a different number, but let's just say it was a negative 20. If it equaled a negative 20 at the very end, what would that be? That wouldn't be a circle anymore, would it? Right? Why not? Because you can't take the square root of a negative number. It comes out imaginary, and we can't have an imaginary radius. So at the end, if this comes out to be 0, it's not a circle, it's a point. If it comes out to be a negative number at the end, it's non-existent, right? The graph is non-existent. But if it comes out to be a positive number, then it's just a circle. Right? So all you need to do on 25 is finish it, move things around, and then see if it's a circle or not. So is everyone okay with that? We see kind of how that works. Question 26. We just did one very, very similar to this right before break. Okay, it actually looks like question, I just did it a minute ago. It looks very, very similar to, let's see, the one we just did a minute ago. Let me find it here. So it looks very, very similar to question number, I'm missing a page, but we did one of them just like it. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to figure out where this came from. So we take each one, and there's x, these are your answers, so there's that equal to it. So if I move that over, that gives you x minus 5i equals 0. If I take the other one, x equals minus 5i, to move it over, it gives you x plus 5i equals 0. And now we need to write these out. And how do we finish it from here? You have to FOIL. And what do we know? We need to note that I squared is what? -1. So you'll take that, you'll FOIL it out. Now the middles will cancel out. The 5i's will cancel because one's a positive 5i, one's a negative 5i. And they're going to cancel out from each other. And we did a very, very similar question when we were looking at the practice final. And we did several examples just like it. Let me find the sheet here that had it. Which one it was off the top. We just did one just like it a moment ago. Oh, yep, here it is. Practice final, question 28. If you look at that key, I don't know if you've got one, Dana, but I've got one printed out in case you need it. So. Yep. It's right there, print off a copy. Now, also, if you need another copy of your take-home final, let's say you made mistakes and you want to get a clean copy, you can print that out in Canvas too. So if you need to print off a new copy, you can. But you can finish it the exact same way. So FOIL it out. It's going to then be set to 0, and that's all you have to do. The I should go away, and remember that I squared is a -1. So that 26 is very, very similar to 28 on your practice final. So 36 is the next one. Okay, so 36. Make sure I write one here. So we're on our take-home final, and we're going to look at question 36. This is a multiple choice question. And we're going to try to find the area of this picture. Now, when we work with these, we need to remember how it's going to work and why we have takeoff 2. We're not just going to take an x off, and I'll go ahead and finish this one, because there's really nothing I can finish on here. But we've got the length and we've got the width. So we've got a 32 and we've got a 42. Now, why is it going to be A? Can someone tell me, because I really can't explain without working it out completely, why it's going to be answer A? Okay, I want this area here. So if this is 32, then I have to take off x on the top and an x on below. So that's why it's minus 2x. And if you're looking left to right, you've got the 42. We have taken x off on the left and an x off on the right. That's why it's minus 2x there. And what does it equal? It equals that 800, because that's the area of that entire picture frame as well. Does that one make sense?
Yeah.
So I couldn't explain that one without working it out, but it's easy enough. Question 39. So 2 more. So what we do on this one is we just solve it for y. Okay, so there's nothing really left to do. So we're going to go ahead and just solve this for y. So that's what we do first, solve for y. And now we can reduce that down, and that gives you y equals a minus, and you can rewrite this as minus 1/6 x. And 8 over 6, well, that reduces down to then be a 4/3. Now, we're not done yet, because what does it say for the last piece? It says, yep, so all you have to do is rewrite it, and instead of having a y, what goes there? F of x. So it would be f of x equals that. And I think that the directions are just what got you. So it's just,
that's what I was wondering.
Yep.
I didn't know what you wanted for it.
Yep, so it'll be f of x equals minus 1/6 x plus 4/3. That's what I'm wanting. Okay, I want you to solve it for y and then rewrite it with f of x. And the last one here, yep, it's kind of hard to read the way it came out of the copier. Question 40, all I want you to do is solve it.
On 40?
Yep. And I know it did not, well, at least my copy didn't come out very nice because my copy's been copied a couple of times. But that's what we want to do, and I just want you to solve it. Okay, so solve this linear equation. So all we have to do is solve it. Now, when we try to solve it, we combine like terms, and so that gives you a minus 2x plus 2 equals minus 2x plus 7, right? Okay. I'm not going to finish it, but you can. If you finished it, what happens when the x's cancel? Which they will. If you try to finish this, the x's would cancel, and you'd be left with 2 equals what now? 2 equals 7, right? And what kind of equation is that? Does 2 equal 7? No, that would be a contradiction, no solution. So I think we've covered everything that we need to cover. So I will see everyone then on Wednesday. We'll start our final 8:45. Now, I should be able to get everything graded. So when you come in, if you could give me any of the homework that you need graded, your take-home final, your practice final, all that packet, plus that packet over variation, logarithms and systems, and I'll get those graded. And I should be able to grade everything while you're taking your exam. And then when you're finished, I should be able to tell you what your overall grade will be.
Can I give you my practice final now?
Why don't you keep it? You might want to look at it.
Okay.
That way I don't lose it, and that way you got it too, because you
Okay.
may want to review some more.
Okay.
All right? Okay, so I will see
Okay,
everyone
then you
then.
can have that, because I'm done with it.
Yep, I'll
It's
get that
stressing
graded.
me out.
Okay. No problem. I'll get that graded and recorded today for you. Okay, that's that. Oh, you finished as well? All right. I'll get that graded for you also, Cody. And I'll get these grades updated this afternoon, because I'll probably do it right after lunch. I'll just grade these real quick. And get them